I'm a huge advocate for documenting your life through photography. There are tons of benefits to this, whether you want to incrementally improve your photography over time, or whether you just want to be more present in day-to-day life, make some memories for yourself and your loved ones. There's loads of cool stuff about it, and I thought it was about time that I gave you my top tips on how to do this and how to implement photography into your day-to-day life. And one tip on this list is kindly sponsored by Zeniko, which I shall talk about in a bit. So first of all, I think it's super important that you have a camera that you enjoy carrying with you at all times. Now, I'm not talking about spending the earth. This can be something that's small and budget friendly, or you can get something a little bit bigger if you're bougie and want something a little bit more modern. I don't even care if you use your phone. Whatever you have access to and whatever sparks joy, as they say, is the camera that you're going to be able to add into your routine and use in a day-to-day way. For me, for the longest time, it was the Lumix GM5. Very small, very stylish. I have loads of videos on this. I have loads of videos throughout my channel to give you loads of inspiration if you're looking for an everyday carry camera. My current weapon of choice is the OM System OM3, which is more on the high-end side, but it does great video as well, which helps me be a YouTube camera nerd. So there's loads of options. Don't care if you use your phone. The important thing is you have to enjoy what you have with you. Otherwise, this habit is never gonna stick. And I do think there is a difference between a great camera and a great everyday carry camera. Like, for instance, objectively, the Lumix G9 II is a great camera. I love it. I've took some of my favorite photographs with it. But every time I've taken it away on trips to use as an everyday carry camera, it's done my head in. It's just a little bit too big and bulky. It's weird. I would happily leave that expensive top-end camera on the shelf and go out with a tiny camera and just gel with it more, use it more and have more fun. It's a very individual thing. Conversely, if you don't mind carrying something that's a little bit heavier, go wild. For me, I gravitate towards tinier cameras. Number 3 is the biggest tip probably on this list, and that is stop waiting for the big moments to happen. I don't know about you, but I've sometimes in the past been in this sort of rut where the camera doesn't leave my shelf unless I'm going to a fancy place on holiday or I'm going out for a full day taking a big photography walk. I think if you wait for the big photography moments to happen, your camera ends up rotting away somewhere. Instead of waiting for the big moments to happen, we need to embrace the little moments and find compositions in day-to-day life. Let me give you some day-to-day examples that I bloomin' love. I love a train station. Just think about it. They're always pretty cool in terms of architecture. There's always people around, so you've always got subject. There's fast-moving things whizzing by, so you can experiment with long exposure photography. You've always got downtime, so it's perfect. How many times have you been waiting at a bus stop or a train station and you've got 10, 15 minutes left to spare? You can sit and scroll on Instagram, or you could get some photography in and maybe get some interesting photos. For example, I was in Munich, just had some food with friends, and we were going back on the metro on the way home, and I was just absolutely taken by the orange coloured theme metro that I'd found myself in, and I got this lovely set of photographs where if I hadn't have had my camera with me, that would have been long forgotten. More recently, I was in Valencia and we took the underground and I got these really cool sort of liminal spaces photographs. I was really experimenting with longer shutter speeds, handheld, and I really liked them. I got to create a couple of cool photographs where otherwise I would have just been sat there bored. And the interesting thing about taking photographs regularly and putting yourself in these mundane situations and trying to find interesting things is patterns begin to emerge. One pattern that I've found in my photography is I really am quite fond of taking photos of the back of people's heads. That sounds really strange, but I think it comes from photos remain anonymous. It's very non-confrontational. It gives me a subject and it adds intrigue. It's like, what are these people looking at? It gives you like a frame within a frame. And I really quite like some of these photographs, and it's a theme that crops up again and again in my images. Another thing that I'm quite fond of is mirror or reflection selfies. I like to remember how I was feeling in these moments and what I was doing and where I was, and putting myself in the frame is kind of cool. It's a way for me to remember stuff, and it's entirely for me. And sometimes you've got to do photography for yourself and not for others. And I think everyday carry sort of photography is much more for you than it is for anybody else. But if you find some gems along the way that you want to share, Excellent. Now, if you're thinking all of these examples are a bit weird, I am totally there with you. It's absolutely fine. The point is, if you start doing this yourself, you will come up with things that you like to shoot. You don't have to do what I like to shoot. You will just put yourself in these positions and you'll see things and you'll gravitate towards certain compositions and certain styles, and you'll develop more as a photographer over time. Counterpoint to number 3, however, while we have to stop waiting for the big moments, because that way lies madness, if you have a camera on you every day, you are exponentially more likely to have the camera with you when something big happens. Let me give you some quick fire examples of when I've been super glad that I've had a camera with me as opposed to just my phone. Tromsø, December. We waited all week for the Northern Lights. All week. And we got them on the plane home. I always keep my camera with me in my hand luggage by me when I'm on planes, because I think planes are always quite interesting. You never know. The sunset might be nice when you get on the plane. There might be some astrophotography, whatever. Anyway, I'm so glad when this happened that I had my camera. I hid underneath my coat to try and get rid of as many reflections as possible, and I used the G9 II with the 15mm prime. Here is what my camera got versus what I could achieve with my phone. And this is why when I say, yes, you know, your phone is good in a pinch. If you're in good lighting, it doesn't matter too much. But if you are in a trickier situation, in my experience, even having a cheaper, older camera will give you better results than just your phone. But if that's all you have access to, don't let it stop you trying. Another example, I was in LA in a bar, living my best life, and I looked out the window and the sky was literally like pinky purple. I've never seen it in my life, and sometimes when I look at these photos, I think people might think they're photoshopped, but it was actually this mad colour. So I grabbed my camera. I had a GX8 at the time, so again, older, cheaper, doesn't have to be fancy. They ended up being some of my favourite photographs of the whole trip. I've never seen a sky like it, and if I hadn't have been able to capture this, I would never have believed it myself. You're probably thinking LA's a bit bougie, right? Let's go back to Liverpool, sunny Liverpool. I was working in Liverpool, and at the end of my shift, it was winter, so it was already dark by the time that I'd finished. Is there anything worse than that in the UK, honestly? And when I came out of work, I would always take my Olympus Pen F at the time in and out of work with me, because I like to go for a little photo walk on lunch and sometimes play Pokemon Go. I noticed in the Albert Dock across from where I was working, there was like this fairground that had appeared. So I went over and got this long exposure shot. And it was yet another day when I was really glad that I had a camera with me, because you do genuinely never know what you're going to come across in day-to-day life. In terms of what you should capture, I think a good rule of thumb is focusing on feeling rather than perfection. This might sound a bit wishy-washy, but bear with me. I promise it'll be worth your time. I think the art of capturing your life and documenting your life is you need to remember that it's your story that you're telling. Things have to get a bit personal. Otherwise, what's the point? Things that are very personal to you might mean nothing to anybody else. I mean, the chances of you taking a world-class photograph on a random Tuesday afternoon that's going to resonate with billions of people is probably not likely to happen. So there's no point trying to take photographs that entertain the masses in this sort of scenario. Sure, go and get your sunset banger shot when you're on a road trip, but when you're on your commute home from work, be more personal. Here are some examples. Back to LA again. I was there on a camera press trip a few years ago, and I took this photograph from my hotel when I was waiting for the lift to go downstairs. The skyline, I could probably have got a better photograph from the rooftop, or if I'd opened the window in my room. But the thing that made it personal to me was I wanted to remember being in the hotel. I'd got there across the globe on nothing but my camera nerdiness, and I was really blooming proud of myself. And I remember looking out when I was waiting for the lift and just thinking, this is like a pinch me moment. It's so cool. And keeping the framing of the hotel in actually makes it more memorable to me than just the skyline. And this photo, I talk about this one a lot. It's literally one of my favorite photos of all time. This is my dad in Pompeii, out of focus. We've always been photo nerds together. We've done plenty of trips over the years, whether it's the Faroe Islands or to Canada or to Iceland, which we're going to next. Very exciting. I think it's quite funny that I missed focus on it, given that it was a photography trip. But it's just his little smile and he's got his camera. I don't know, I think I love the photo more because it's out of focus somehow. It reminds me that, you know, photography is a journey and you can go out of your way to do these amazing photo trips and you still blooming make mistakes. And at the end of the day, what was more important was I'm just spending time with my dad and we're enjoying photography together. And again, you don't need the fancy places at all. Look at this example. I was walking into town to get a sandwich and it had been snowing and I found these little bird steps on the concrete and I just thought it was really cute. There was that one time I became irrationally obsessed with my pink Crocs for a month and wanted to document it. And then I was staying in this little cottage with some friends and we were having some chess tournaments with these like wolf themed chess pieces. So I wanted to take a couple of photographs to remember those mundane moments as well. I also think this technique of finding the personal elements, the little elements, can also translate beautifully if you're doing paid work with photography or video. For instance, this approach is what I like to do for my wedding photography. I do it a lot less now, but I used to do it full time, 35 weddings a year, bosh, bosh, bosh. And I always made a point to look for the little moments that were strange, the little details that were cute, anything that I thought the person might look back on and go, those little moments mean more than the posed shots, you know what I mean? I think those little moments put you back into the memories. So as well as improving your own photography and creating some memories for yourself and being present in day-to-day life, we're also probably developing skills that will translate into paid work if that's something you're interested in. And shout out to my main man, Swoops. This little stuffed owl, we've been taking him around the world for some reason for like, I don't know, 15 years. These are definitely personal photographs. They're just fun. I think it stemmed from me either always being behind the camera or not necessarily being comfortable in front of the camera. So having our little travel mascot meant that I could take some fun photos to remember where I've been, but not necessarily be in the photo. I'm always more comfortable behind the camera than in front of it when it comes to photography. So yeah, that was a fun little photo project. I love Swoops. Number 6, consider getting a tiny flash gun for your tiny camera. Some cameras have a built-in flash, which is lovely. Some don't, but will have a hot shoe so that you can add a tiny flash. There's something nostalgic about on-camera flash photography, and it's so easy to add this into your everyday carry. For instance, Zeniko. These are the sponsor of today's video and the tiniest, cutest little flashes that I've ever found. Look at how adorable these are. And they charge via USB-C, so you don't have any AAA or AA batteries to contend with. They also come in different sizes, and the slightly larger one, which is still very small, comes in its own little traveling pouch as well, which is gorgeous.
Zeniko make a whole host of innovative accessories for photographers and content creators, like lighting, microphones, and phone accessories. Make sure you check out their entire range after this video.
My next tip might sound simple, but I think it's a very important one as well, is remember that this is supposed to be fun. Don't beat yourself up if you take your camera out for 5 days straight and get 0 photographs. It happens all the blooming time. But you know what else happens? On day 6, something will happen where you're very, very glad that you have your camera with you. So just persevere with it. But don't force it. You know, if you are in objectively a pants place to take photographs, you know, my town is not very photogenic whatsoever. Sometimes you can find cute little snow prints from the birds. Sometimes you might walk down the canal and find something interesting, but don't beat yourself up about it. Just keep the camera there and think about it as you're giving yourself more chance and more opportunity. You don't have to take a photograph every single day or in every single place. It's just there if you need it. I think alongside this tip, it's important to say that you shouldn't be afraid to take bad photos. Remember, if we're shooting digital, it doesn't cost anything to take a punt, and nobody has to see it but you. If you take 10 terrible photographs and 1 fantastic photograph, you can just share that 1 photograph or none of them. It's entirely up to you. And another thing that happens is bad photos are not always bad. This happened to me really recently, actually. I took this photograph in Amsterdam for King's Day, so everyone was wearing orange and blue. I originally, when I was going through my photographs from that trip, I just disregarded this one, didn't care, but I was going through them again because I was looking for a photograph of swoops for this video, and I saw this photo and I'm like, why on earth did I throw that out? I mean, I've found buildings coincidentally that are orange and blue that are split down the middle, and it matches what people are wearing. I've got this happy sign and this rather serious looking gentleman walking into scene, and then you've just got the added chaos of people's legs in the top corner. Sometimes you need to refresh your memory and look through older photographs because you will find some gems that you've otherwise disregarded. I really like this photo, and had I not looked again, I would never have appreciated it. So sometimes you will take bad photos, and sometimes your bad photos won't even be bad. You just won't realise it. And if you take anything from this video, remember, you already have a life that's worth photographing. It doesn't have to be busier or fancier or more extravagant. Your story is already happening every single day. You just need to take the time to see it and capture it. And that's what everyday carry photography is all about. And I think you should give it a go.